Hi, this is Miranda Marshall from the Salina Adult Education Center in Kansas. I was part of Cohort 4 of Teaching the Skills That Matter. The main population that I serve is high beginning to advanced level ESL students. And during the time of this cohort, we were actively learning about health and employment in our regularly scheduled curriculum. So I was able to choose lessons directly from the toolkit that fit right in with minimal tweaking. I actually taught closer to about 7 lessons during this cohort, but I've narrowed it down to a few most memorable for this video. The first lesson in this video was actually the last lesson that I taught, and it focuses on workforce preparation and uses problems to help guide the learning. So this lesson ended up stretching over 3 hours of my class time, and I modified the plan so that my higher level students could learn the process in a more advanced way, and then they helped simplify it for the lower levels so they could practice the skills multiple times. During the advanced level class, we used the ideal problem solving strategy and a form to apply that strategy to real world work problems as a team, such as the one pictured here. I prepared 5 scenarios, which all got separated out to small groups, and then the groups had to solve the problems and present the information to higher level students. In the next slide, we'll see a video of a group of students who are presenting the information to others.
Okay, so what's your solution? How can you fix it?
Let's try to stop this.
Stop.
Please don't talk about people or change the conversation.
Yeah, you can do that so long. Okay, so what are some things that could go wrong with that?
Upset.
Yeah, she's gonna be upset at you. And she's gonna gossip about you, right? Usually that's what happens, right? Then you have a new problem. Then you have to find a new solution, right? What were the skills you needed for that problem?
Communication and interpretation.
When we brought the lower level students in, I'd prepared a slightly less intensive slide deck with the same images to convey the ideas of the lesson vocabulary. For example, for communication skills, we used the little icon of the 2 talking heads, and we carried that over onto the other slide deck so that the upper level students remembered that that was communication and they remembered that discussion and were able to explain it to the lower level students. Students then discussed these in heterogeneous groups of ability and then prepared to solve problems together while thinking about the skills they used doing so. The first problem that these multi-level groups had to solve was this. They had photos and they had to come up with the problem in English and follow the steps the higher level students identified using the ideal strategy to come up with solutions to try them out. And then they got to play devil's advocate, and there was a lot of discussion about which was the best choice for their own families at that time. These problems got increasingly more difficult and more work-related as the lesson went on. The next lesson that I presented was actually the first lesson that I ever taught, because we were right in the middle of a health unit and we were already talking about how to make appointments and talk with nurses, so this was a perfect fit for us. In this lesson, students were given a story about a couple who were struggling to understand the word preeclampsia when they visited their doctor about their first child. I did this lesson with 2 different classes, high beginning level only and then a high intermediate only, and I had very different results. The high beginners were much more lively in the discussion and had way more ideas to share because this was a common problem that they faced on a daily basis. And while the intermediate students have probably also faced this on a daily basis, they were actually more concerned about giving the right answer, and they also wanted to know exactly what preeclampsia was themselves, and so it kind of impeded their ability to solve the problem for the family. And then finally, I had this financial literacy lesson, and it fit into the health unit perfectly because I started off by teaching what is good health before this. Students were taught about healthy food choices, and then they were given this project where each small group had a family with a budget to create healthy meal choices in either a poster or a slideshow format. The funny thing is that I randomly selected students using a generator, and the way that this grouping fell, I had 2 male students in a group, and they had to buy for a family with a baby, and they are unaccustomed to buying groceries for a family at all. Whereas my other group were heads of household in that regard. They are the buyers of all the groceries and the makers of all the meals in their houses. So their concepts came up a little bit differently. So overall, the lessons in the toolkit were easy to use. I plan on sharing more, and I hope to use more from the toolkit soon.